Hi everyone.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for a live talk with Matt, who you've just heard from, who is one of the three engineers who has been involved in creating a series of engaging books which raise awareness of environmental issues. It's great to see so many schools joining us today. I'll give a quick shout out. We've got Burstow Primary School, Fording Bridge Junior School, St Margaret's Clitheroe School in Tunbridge, Bispham, can't pronounce it probably correctly, Drive School, Junior School. We have got Caldecott Primary School, St Francis Primary in Braintree, Westwood Academy, Tolbar Primary, Heronway Primary, Busby Primary. Lots of you. I'm sorry, I probably won't get through all of them. So sorry if I've missed you. Howe Greenhouse School. So good morning, everyone. And to celebrate British Science Week, and this year's theme is connectivity, if you didn't know, Matt is going to talk about connecting sustainability and engineering. You'll also hear a reading from their first book in the series, The Adventures of Scout, Stop Dropping Litter. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good. And please feel free to ask any questions by putting them in the chat, and Matt will aim to answer as many as he can at the end of his talk. So that's enough from me. Let me hand you over to Matt. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, and thanks, Lisa. And yeah, fantastic to be here for British Science Week, talking about connections and connectivity. Yeah, great to see so many people on the call. I hope I can keep your interest. So let's do some introductions. So who are we? Who are the three engineers and why are we here today? So as Lisa said, we're here to tell you a little bit about our adventure that we've had writing children's stories about sustainability and environmental issues. And we're going to have a listen to our first book in the series, The Adventures of Scout, Stop Dropping Litter. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about engineering and how we can connect engineering to the environment and actually connect it to the themes in our book. And then hopefully there'll be enough time at the end for me to answer some questions that you guys have got. All right, so first of all, I'm going to play a little video that tells you a little bit about the three engineers and who we are and what we're up to.
What do you get when you have a planet addicted to plastic? Mix in rising sea levels and a pinch of deforestation. A pretty big problem, we think. But add in three engineers who want to make change. And surprisingly, the outcome isn't a spaceship or a time machine, but rather a project with a mission to engage children around the globe to help protect our natural world. So, what are they doing? The three engineers have come together and designed a set of fun rhyming children's books named The Adventures of Scout. The aim of these books is to encourage readers to plant seeds to feed the bees, to pick up plastic, and to recycle household waste to help animals in our local habitats. Their mission is to spread Scout's message far and wide, providing material for children to use both at home and in their schools. So, what are you waiting for? Join Scout's team and help save the planet. Together, we can make small changes to better the world. Go onto the 3Engineers website and check out their free audio children's books. You can also follow them on social media platforms as they share their journey to publish the books.
Right, so that's us and that's who we are. And normally I do these presentations with my colleague Nick, who you can see there. He's an electrical engineer, but he's away today, so you've got me. And that's me down in the corner there. I'm not the dinosaur. I'm the other one pretending to be a dinosaur. And a few facts about me. I'm a father of two, so I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. Okay, so maybe the same age as some of you listening. And I'm a systems engineer. And we'll talk a bit more about engineering later, but there's different types of engineer. So Nick's an electrical engineer and I'm a systems engineer, but we can talk about that later. And given half the chance, I will eat cheesecake till I explode. Hands up, anyone who likes cheesecake. Well, I love it. Oreo is my favourite, and yeah, I love it. Right, so let's talk a little bit about our adventure and the project that we've been doing. So the 3Engineers mission is to motivate children like yourselves to play a positive role in protecting our natural world. And we've done this by writing a set of stories about a little girl called Scout who goes on adventures, and it's about taking action on different environmental issues. And today we're going to read our first book called Stop Dropping Litter, which is about waste, plastic waste in the ocean and how it gets there. So how about we have a listen? Right, see you in a bit.
Hello, my name's Nick and I'm a member of the 3Engineers team, and I'm about to read you our first book, Stop Dropping Litter. This is a story about a girl named Scout who loves nothing more than to figure things out. Scout lives with her mum, her dad and their dog, and her best friend Vinny, the poison dart frog. One day when she'd dressed and had tied up her shoes, Scout asked her mum what she'd read in the news. "You'll never guess what," she stated theatrically. "Beaches are covered in rubbish. What a catastrophe!" So Scout ran back upstairs to sit on her bed, where she thought long and hard about what was just said. "Emergency meeting," cried out Scout. "Where's the rubbish coming from? Let's figure this out." "I know. I'll pack a bag, a bucket, a spade and my litter pickers to help clean up the beach just that little bit quicker." Scout jumped on her bike and sped off with haste to see for herself the extent of the waste. Scout arrived at the beach and wandered down to the shore, where a pot scuttled past with an extremely large claw. Scout knocked on the pot with a tap, 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 and out came a crab with a snap, snap, snap. "Hey there, crab, why the yoghurt pot? Isn't it sticky? Isn't it hot?" "Indeed it is," the crab replied. "What else do you suggest? I live inside." So Scout dug with her spade and unearthed a large shell. "Perfect," said the crab. "There's no longer that smell." "Thank you, little girl. What brings you here?" "To help clean up this rubbish. Is the source near?" "Well, I found this pot washed up on the shore. Follow my tracks, go forth and explore." "Thank you, crab." So off Scout went. Down at the shore, Scout paddled her feet, then heard a strange noise with a panicking beat. "Vroo, vroo, vroo." Scout parted some rubbish, revealing a whale with a kazoo trapped in its blowhole and waving its tail. Scout removed the kazoo and the whale breathed with delight, then gave a big smile all pearly and white. "Thank you, little girl. What brings you here?" "To help clean up this rubbish. Is the source near?" "Well, it floats in with the tide, and it's one of my gripes. If you look down the beach, it comes out of two pipes." "Thank you, whale." So off Scout went. Further down the beach, amongst piles of clutter, Scout bumped into a turtle who was all of a flutter. "Please give me a hand," the turtle said. "I'm trapped in this shirt. It's stuck over my head." Scout used her pickers to set the turtle free. Thrashing and splashing, it shouted, "Yippee!" "Thank you, little girl. What brings you here?" "To help clean up this rubbish. Is the source near? Well, a gull sold me this shirt from his second-hand shop. He's down by that pier, but perhaps he should stop. Thank you, Turtle. So off Scout went. Perched on a pipe and looking quite dodgy, Scout spotted a seagull all round and podgy. Come by my ways, the bird squawked out. Fancy a bendy straw or used Brussels sprat? How about a brush for styling your hair? Or sachets of lotion used for your skincare? What are you doing? Scout asked the wily bird. This waste is polluting. Please tell me you've heard. A turtle has told me that you sold him a shirt. Did you know it was plastic and that it could hurt? The seagull was sorry and felt very ashamed. The waste comes from town, he later explained. So Scout sat on a rock and collected her thoughts, then concocted a plan using things that she'd brought. I've got it! I'll ask my new friends to help me clean up and cover that pipe to cheer everyone up. Then I'll tell people in town to stop dropping litter, which gets to the sea through these pipes from the river. Scout gathered the animals and explained what to do. Then they all set to work like a recycling zoo. The whale flicked waste to shore with its fins. Crabs formed long lines passing rubbish to the bins. Seagull and turtle constructed a net with seaweed collected from a seal they'd just met. The beach was now safe and the teamwork was fun. Scout was delighted with the work they had done.
Well, what did you think? Hope you enjoyed that. I love listening to that story. Nick does good voices. So, our book, The Adventures of Scout Stop Dropping Litter, is about taking action. And you saw how Scout took action and picked up all the litter to help the animals. So, the 3 engineers are also taking action. So, we all know that litter looks unsightly and it can harm our natural world, and it's totally avoidable. So that's why the 3 engineers have teamed up with our partner Helping Hand Environmental, and we're encouraging people to take action and to pick up litter. And actually on our website we can work with Helping Hand to actually provide litter pickers and litter picking equipment so that you can do it in your schools and around your homes. So why not give it a go? Ask your teachers. That's not all we do though. So this one is for the teachers. So calling all teachers. We've got lots of other stuff on our website and stuff that's available. So firstly, we've written not just one book, we've written 3 books, and you can listen to them all for free as audio books on our website, the3engineers.com. We've also got a number of activity sheets which are free for you to download. You just need to go to the home page on our website and scroll to the bottom, and there's a bunch of free resources about all sorts of stuff. And finally, our pictures are amazing. The illustrations are great. They're done by a lady in Georgia in Eastern Europe, and she sends us videos of how she does them, and we put them up on our Instagram, which the handles change slightly. It's at the 3 engineers, but yeah, go on and have a look. It's great. Finally, I said we've written 3 books, but we have only published 2. So our second book, which you might have heard, called The Adventures of Scout, the Missing Bees, is about how important pollinators are and things like that. So yeah, go and have a listen. Right. So British Science Week, connections. So how can we connect engineering to sustainability and to the action that Scout took in our book? Well, I've got a couple of examples for you. So first of all, yeah, how do we connect engineering to look after our environment? So engineering, if you don't know what it is about solving problems. And basically, an engineer's job is to solve problems. That's what Nick and I do every day. We just do it on different subjects. And we do it by applying science and maths to invent, design, and build gadgets and different materials to perform a function or a need. Okay, so I've got a couple of examples here. Now, our book, Stop Dropping Litter, explained how if litter gets dropped in a town or a city, it can make its way into the rivers and down along the waterways and out to sea. Well, scientists and engineers have come together to try and figure out some ways to actually stop the litter getting into the ocean. The first one here is something called the Interceptor, and it's a barge, a solar powered barge by a company called the Ocean Cleanup. They invented it, and these sit in the world's most polluted rivers, and they collect litter that's on the surface of the water and trying to flow out to sea, and it goes up this big conveyor belt, and you can see it on the picture there, and gets put into containers and then taken to shore and sorted and recycled and disposed of properly rather than going into the oceans. The second example here is called a bubble barrier, and this does a similar thing to the Interceptor, but it actually allows you to stop litter that floats at different levels in the water, not just on the surface. And what it is a long pipe that they put at the bottom of the river, and then they release air through it in bubble formation, and the bubbles rise to the top, and that actually stops, you can see in the animation there, it actually stops litter and things and rises it to the surface so that it can be collected and stops it going downstream. But it also, because it's just bubbles, doesn't affect fish or marine life. They can just swim through the bubbles, and also any boats that are going up and down the river, they don't have to worry about bumping into anything because it's just bubbles of air. So there's some pretty cool inventions where engineers have helped use science to actually help the environment, and that is basically the theme of our book as well. It's about taking action to try and protect our natural world. So I think that's all I had to say today and present. I really hope you enjoyed our story and you found those connections with engineering and the examples interesting. So I've got just under 15 minutes now, which is loads of time to ask some questions. So I think Sophie's on the line and she's been looking at your questions. She's gonna ask me them and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay.
Thank you, Matt. That's great. Yes. So as Matt says, please put your questions into the chat and we'll get through as many as we possibly can. So the first question we've got from somebody called student called Rishab is, how long does it take to write the books and how do you decide on which issues you should focus on?
Oh, great question. So in terms of writing the books, we did it a bit unconventionally. We wrote all 3 books at the same time. We didn't just write one and then write another one. We wrote 3 at the same time, which meant it took quite a long time, but meant that we could connect them all together and have all the pictures link as well. And it took about 18 months to get to the first draft of the first book. So quite a long time, because we'd never written a story before, being engineers, like not since we were back in primary school really. So yeah, we had to do that, and we had to learn how to rhyme as well, and we used maths to figure that out. So I think in terms of the second part of the question about what issues did we have to focus on, because we didn't know anything about writing books, what we did was gather what's called requirements. So those are all the things that you need to know about how to write a book and how to publish it. So how many pages, what types of words, how many words, like what paper could we use, things like that. Lots of different interesting things and skills that we had to learn. So yeah, we had to focus on everything up front.
Brilliant. Okay, we've got so many questions coming through now, which is great. Is it possible to design a machine using the litter?
Design a machine using litter? Maybe not a machine, but our third book that's out is about animal habitats and endangered UK animals, and it's called Animal Rescue. And what Scout does in that book, a bit of a spoiler alert, she uses household waste to create rescue kits for the animals. So for example, like a squirrel feeder or a bug hotel or a hedgehog tunnel, out of things that you would just throw away and would be put into landfill. So you can use waste materials, and actually we try to, as engineers, reuse materials to make new things. So some parts of cars and things now are actually made of recycled plastics. So actually plastic bottles and things that are shredded up and reformed into new shapes, and then they form parts of cars. So yeah, we do it all over the place. Great question.
Fantastic. No, that's really good. So I've got a question here from Year 4 in Westwood Academy. What is the best way to stop rubbish going into the ocean?
Well, the best way to stop rubbish going to the ocean is at the source, and it starts with you guys. Okay, so we've got to be very mindful not to drop litter on the floor, so that because the wind and rain will blow it into the drains and down into the rivers. So we've got to make sure that personally we're actually not dropping litter. We also need to mention it to other people that we might see dropping litter, and not be scared and be brave, and point out to them and educate people in a kind way to say, actually, do you know, this could cause problems. That sweetie wrapper that you've just dropped, it could cause problems for lots of animals. And then lastly, it's really important at home to recycle and actually get involved with your parents and your big brothers and sisters, and actually think about the waste that you're using. Okay,
Fantastic. So, yeah. Okay, so I've got a question from Edward, who asks, how much rubbish is collected by the machines?
Wow, good question, Edward. I'm uncertain exactly how much rubbish is collected by each of those machines. It is a lot. We actually throw away hundreds and hundreds of tons of rubbish, even in the UK, every day, and it's a lot. It's a lot. What I might do is actually do a bit of research and find out for you, because I'm sure there'll be more questions than I can answer on this call. So I'll ask Lisa and Sophie to send them through, and I'll write the answers down for you. So yeah, I'll take that one away and find out for you.
Thank you. That's really good. That's really good of you, Matt. I've got a question from Year 4 CFS school. How did 3 engineers come together?
Okay, interesting question. Yeah, so it was about 4 years ago, and Nick, John and I, who are the started the 3 engineers and wrote the books, we all worked at the same company, and we were lucky enough to be able to have Friday afternoons off. If we'd done enough work, we could get in the week, we could have Friday afternoons off. And what we tended to do was just meet up and have a bit of a fun and a drink and stuff. And we thought, we should do something more productive with our time, something new, something exciting and creative. And that's when we came together and came up with ideas for writing children's stories. We actually did it as engineers. We had a scoring matrix which for all of our different ideas, and assessed our different interests and made sure we picked the right one. And yeah, it came up with children's books because that had the biggest impact. So yeah.
That's
Great question.
that's really good to know. Definitely, and we hope it's having a big impact on everybody who's listening today. So I've got another, quite a technical question here from Rose Acres Primary School. What mechanism is inside the interceptor?
What mechanism is inside the interceptor? Okay, so inside the interceptor are a number of crates, okay, and then at the front of the interceptor is a mechanical conveyor belt, and that's powered by an electric motor which is powered by solar energy. So there's solar panels on top of the interceptor, and that energy is what powers the conveyor. So when rubbish comes along on the surface, it hits like a sort of barrier that guides it into the conveyor, and then the conveyor has all these little sort of tangs on it that drag the rubbish up, and it gets dumped into the containers, and then the containers have sensors in so that they know when they're full, and when they're full it basically moves it out the way and brings a fresh one in, and then it knows when all the containers are full so that it can contact the shore to be able, someone can come in and then collect all the rubbish so it doesn't overflow.
That's a very clever machine. Okay, so I have another question here, some great questions coming through from Westwood Academy, Hadley, Essex, Year 6. What inspired you to write a book to address the issue of litter?
Okay, so like I said, there was 3 of us that started writing books, and we came up with we researched different environmental issues going on with the world, and we each took a topic that was important to us, and we each went away and started writing the plot and the themes for each story. And this book, Stop Dropping Litter, was the book that I took. So I grew up in Cornwall. Many of you might have been on holiday to Cornwall. Lots of beaches, lovely place. And I'm very aware of rubbish washing up on the beaches and how the impact it can have to the local community and the wildlife down there. So that's why I picked that theme as something that we wanted to tackle and educate people on the fact that that rubbish doesn't necessarily come from out at sea or in the local like area. It could come from quite a way away in a city or a town further upstream in the rivers. So yeah, that's why we wrote that story.
Okay, so Caldicott Primary School have asked, where did the idea of using bubbles to stop the rubbish come from?
Oh, so there's a number of different companies that looked at that. I don't know exactly how they came up with that idea, but it's pretty ingenious, I think, because it's quite difficult to stop objects that are flowing down in a river at different depths from continuing without sort of just blocking off the river like a dam. And that's really bad for like us getting up and down the river on boats, and also all the marine life that lives in the river, because some marine life like salmon and things need to get up rivers at different times of year to spawn and things like that. So I think it's a very ingenious way that someone thought, do you know what, air bubbles, because you can just swim through them, but it actually, through what's called fluid dynamics, actually traps larger objects that have a buoyancy and can bring them up to the surface. So yeah, it's a fantastic idea and very low impact as well.
Yeah, it's great, and something so simple can just be so effective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so on something that kind of relates to or connects, as in our today, how do they put the pipe under the river to have the bubbles come up? That's from St Margaret's School. Oh,
interesting. Yeah, so there's various ways of being able to lay pipe in waterways, because we do it for all your internet cables, like how we're able to talk now. They go under the ocean, really big cables, and basically on these river ones, what they'll do is they'll have like a reel of the cable, and that'll be on the back of a small boat or barge, and they basically just feed it out, and it as they go across the river. And the engineers would have designed the pipe effectively to be negatively buoyant, which means that it would sink, okay, because you want it to go down to the bottom of the riverbed. So yeah, it's all about figuring out, making sure that it has the right level of buoyancy so that it sits where you want it to.
Okay. So Year 4 Westwood Academy wants to know if we use the bubble barriers in the UK.
I'm not too sure if we have any in the UK at the minute. The company that I looked at for the bubble barriers is called the Great Bubble Barrier. So you could go on their website actually and have a look. It's called thegreatbubblebarrier.com. Okay, so they're using that technology in loads of different places, and working with governments to try and put them in different rivers in different countries. The Interceptor is in lots of countries. So the Ocean Cleanup did a survey of all the most polluted rivers in the world, and have targeted those as the ones that they're going to put in. And I think there's 18 of those around the world. But yeah, good question.
I've got so many questions. It's hard to choose. So I've got one from Year 3 Westwood School. Would you consider making your books out of litter?
That is a great question. So we have considered the 3 Engineers is about taking action and having as little impact as possible. Okay, and we're trying to make sure that our products, everything on our website, is also low impact and as sustainable as possible. And it's quite difficult sometimes because a material like plastic is actually a really, really useful material. That's why it exists. Like engineers use it for lots of applications because it's just great for certain things. So for our books, we've looked at working with print houses that are like printers that are local to the UK rather than overseas, say in China, to reduce the impact of how far our books have to travel. And we also look into the types of dyes that are used to actually print the pictures, because some dyes, if like they're chemicals, and if they get leached into rivers and things, it's really bad for the environment. So we've been working with different like publishers to do that, but I've never thought of whether we could make our books out of recycled like plastic. Perhaps that's something I could have a look with Nick and go away and have a look at. But all of our paper in our books is FSC cleared, so it's like from sustainable forestry, so it's all recycled paper. Yeah.
Excellent, really good. So we're actually starting to run out of time. Are you happy to answer one or two more?
I can keep going if people are still there for a bit longer. Yeah,
people are still watching. Okay, so I've had a few questions similar to this. So this is from Cobham Free School, Year 5. What is your favourite book out of the ones that you have written? Which is your favourite book?
My favourite book out of the ones that we've written, it is the Stop Dropping Litter book, and that's mainly because it was our first book that we published, and it was the story that I initially started writing. It's got so many little Easter eggs in the pictures. So there's lots of things. So the dog that is in the pictures is actually my dog Gizmo. So Scout's dog is based on my dog Gizmo. And there's lots of other little things. So like Nick, John and I were working together, we were submarine engineers. Like I still am. I work on submarines, and in one of the pictures you'll see there's a little yellow submarine floated in the water. And also John rowed across the Atlantic once. He went on a crazy adventure and rowed across the Atlantic with 3 friends, and his boat is in the in one of the pictures as well. So yeah, if you get a chance to have a look at the book, go and have a look. And yeah, Vinny is also hidden on every page, so you got to try and find him.
Yeah, I have to try that out. So I've got a question from I think it's pronounced Bish from school. What is the most exciting thing you've ever done as an engineer, apart from your story writing?
So yeah, I mean, the story writing is very exciting, and it's great to be able to show how creative we can be using engineering, really, and using science. But the most exciting thing I've done in engineering, so there's 2 things actually that I'd like to mention. So when I first became an engineer, I worked on nuclear power stations, and I got to visit a nuclear power station in Heysham and stand on top of what's called the pile cap, which is where all the radioactive material that creates the energy is. So I stood on top of a nuclear reactor, which yeah, that's quite a fun fact. And then the second thing was I used to work in Canada, so the country Canada, for a little bit, and that was on submarines. And I was very privileged to go out with the Canadian Navy on a trial where I got to go on a submarine underwater for 4 days. So I was underwater for 4 days, and there's no windows in a normal submarine. So yeah, that was quite fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so I've got Westwood School Year 2. How many animals and habitats do you think have been saved by collecting the litter?
How many could be saved by collecting litter? So lots of, it's tricky to say exactly how many, but it affects so many different marine animals, and that's because the litter that ends up in the ocean can actually float at different layers in the ocean, and the ocean is made up of multiple like layers, and different animals live in those different parts of the ocean. So it's not just coastal animals, but out at sea in the depths of the ocean, it can really affect them. And in some like deep parts of the ocean where it's really dark, animals might actually mistake rubbish as food and actually eat it, and it's not very good for them. So yeah, it would help massively for our marine environment if we didn't pollute the area. Hope that answers that question. That was a tricky question, that one.
Definitely. I've got a couple of questions quite similar actually. One from Cobham 3 School Year 3 and also from Fundersley Primary Year 4. Sorry, my mistake. So firstly, this first question is, how do you know that the animals do not get harmed by the extractor?
Oh, by the interceptor, yeah.
Interceptor, yes.
So the interceptor works by taking rubbish from the surface. So rubbish, it actually operates quite slowly. Okay, so the tide of the river slowly pushes the rubbish that's on the surface towards it, and most of the animals actually live below that, and they have enough time to be able to get out of the way. So it's not like it's trying to catch the fish and put them into the bin. So that yeah, the fish have lots of time to get out of the way, and the engineers have to take that into account when they're designing certain pieces of equipment and machinery like that.
Okay. So I think we've just got time for one more question. This is a nice question to end on. Year 4, Fundersley Primary School. What is your favourite picture in your books?
The favourite picture in our books? So it would be spread 14 of our second book, The Missing Bees. Okay, so the second book is about like bees, and the bees have gone missing, and Scout goes on an adventure to find them, and they're actually chilling out in an arcade because there's no flowers, and Scout takes action by basically getting her new friends together and planting a bunch of beautiful flowers to have a picnic for the bees so that they can regain their special powers and get back to being bees as opposed to being lazy in the arcade. So one of those pictures, the spread 14, it's an amazing picture of all these different flowers, and the bees are there all buzzing around them, and a couple of the bees are looking at a flower menu that gives them all the different flowers that they can eat the pollen from and the nectar. So yeah, that's my favorite one, just because it's so different to all the other pictures.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So that comes to the end of our question and answer session. Thank you so much, everybody who's put those questions through. Loads of really, really good and fascinating, interesting questions. Matt has said that we will try and get all the ones that we didn't get through today, answers and out to you. So we'll send emails out for those. And I shall just pass you over now to my colleague Lisa to finish off. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Matt. As Sophie said, some absolutely brilliant questions, but equally some really good answers. So thank you very much. It's been a really busy morning, and I'm sure that our audience has certainly made a connection with you, Matt. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone who joined us today, and enjoy the last few days of British Science Week. You have until Sunday, but that doesn't mean you stop everything there. You carry on doing as much as you can to help the environment. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.